Hello everyone and welcome to my first ever review video on this channel. So by the time you are seeing this video, I probably have already launched my art store. And well, yeah, that's the reason why I'm actually reviewing and unboxing these two printers. And it's because for a really long time, I've been wanting to open up an art shop with my own prints and stickers. And so if you're interested in that, my website's down below. You can check it out and check all the goodies there. But right now, let's just get into the review process and the unpacking of both of these printers. So I had quite some issues with the Epson. I'm not going to say it was a fun time. It was really frustrating. I would say the way it was packaged, it was wonderful, easy, very concise. The Epson is also beautiful in its white color and also very small compared to the Canon, which you guys will see after this. So it comes with a little booklet, but you kind of have to get the app in order to go through the procedure, and it will show you or tell you right there what steps to follow. So I thought it was easy, but I would say this took longer than usual. I wish it had instructions just on paper. For some reason, I followed those better, or it's easier for me to follow. I was also very surprised because this is my first time using an eco tank, and there was no spilling with the Epson. It was very easy to just fill it up. I would say the overall machine felt very flimsy though, very much in a plastic form. But after I opened and tried the Canon, I would say the Epson is much sturdier and I feel like it would last longer. I would say that the ink from the Epson is very rich compared to the Canon. The Canon actually had a lot of bubbles, but with the Epson, it was great. There was also spilling on the Canon, which you will see later on. Another thing I love about the Epson is the design is just so sleek, and also the tanks are only on the right side of the printer, so it's kind of very concise. Even though the screen is small, I love that it's backlit so that you can actually see the small tiny words. But definitely the installation process took way longer than 10 minutes. I would say more like 16 to 20 minutes to be exact. But I didn't have such a problem with it because, again, it was my first time using the EcoTank and I was really excited. And you only really do this once. And so the installation process was done and all I needed to do was print. But here's where I ran into the most frustrating part of the Epson. So we're not sure if it was this model or if it was just this precise Epson that maybe was faulty. But the thing is that I printed a bunch of times and on different dates. And I adjusted different settings for my illustrations and stickers, and for some reason it kept coming up with some red tint. All my illustrations were in CMYK and highest DPI. I went through different tutorials. I went through head clean, nozzle check, firmware updates, you name it. I even found similar problems that people had with this printer on it and kind of just tested all that I could on it. In the end, unfortunately, the Epson still kept having the same issue of printing with a red tint to it, or like a magenta tint. The other issue that I kept encountering constantly was the paper getting stuck in the printer or ink leaks. And this would be either sticker paper or regular paper as well. So I definitely think that this was faulty in a way because I tested the same paper materials on the Canon and it never had this issue. And again, I was using the paper that each printer allowed, so it wasn't like I was using too thick of a card box paper or anything of that source. But yes, I definitely wasted a lot of paper just trying to do this test, which was very sad because I really wanted to work and I really did love the Epson for its unique style. And also, from what I read, they're the first ones that patent the eco tanks. Another thing is that the Epson is very slow when printing. I actually sped up some of these clips because it really took a long time. And as a last resource, I tried to print on what was my old cartridge printer, which is an HP. And when I printed on that with the same settings as I did on the Epson, the colors were actually correct. So after that, I was just very disappointed, frustrated. It was probably already like a week of me, trying, testing it out. And to tell you the truth, I gave up on the Epson because it was just too frustrating. So this is when I decided to get the Canon. From the start, the Canon is way bigger than the Epson. As you can see from the box, and the packaging is quite a bit massive. But honestly, what I fell in love was with the instruction guide because it had every step written, but it had QR codes that popped up videos of each process or each step. And it was incredible because you could see right there exactly the model you had and the exact step as someone is doing it, so you could just follow that one step and then move on to the next, and so on and so on. Unlike the Epson, the Canon has removable print heads, and from what I heard, usually the print heads can wear out through time, or if you don't use it as often, they sometimes kind of glitch and stop working in random ways. While with this Canon model, you can just replace the print heads yourself. You just purchase them and replace them. And so I found that that was very convenient if I ever have that issue. And immediately I became a big fan. This was so fast to set up. I was very surprised. I would say the tapes and the packaging around were very sturdy though. Like, it was hard to peel them off. I felt like I was gonna break the printer just from peeling off the safety tapes. But I guess that's good because it means that when it's packed, if there's an impact or stuff, it won't move around and it won't damage the printer. But overall, as I mentioned before when I was reviewing the Epson, I do think that the Canon had a more plastic feel. Like, I feel like it wouldn't last as longer as the Epson because it just felt very flimsy. So I tried to be as careful as I could in each step. But don't let this intimidate you. After, I remove all the safety tape and got the print heads out, it was fairly easy to install them. When I first found out that I had to install the print heads myself, I was very worried that I wouldn't be able to do it, or it would be too time consuming or really hard. But it was quite easy and very satisfying to be able to do it, and it did not take that long. Once the installation of the print heads were done, I moved to filling up the mega tanks, and as you can see here, there was some spilling happening, which I got really worried. I thought it was all gonna spill all over, but it was just that little bit, and then afterwards it was fine. As you can tell, there are bubbles that formed, and it was not only for the black ink, but also for the other inks, which made me very concerned because I felt like I lost some ink from the bottles with the bubbles, but I wasn't quite sure if that was meant to be like that, or maybe just the box got shaked too much before I bought it, and as a result, that's why the bubbles are there. Again, it did not happen with the Epson, and that's why I thought the Epson had finer ink. But then again, maybe it's just the way Canon ink works. I won't know until I replace this ink again if the Canon ink I get will be bubbly. But yeah, pretty much that's it. You fill it up, you close it, which again, you can see is very flimsy when I close it. And then you get to turn it on. Now, the thing I loved about the Epson is that even though it had a small screen, it was backlit. For the Canon, it's a small screen, but you can barely see the words, so you really have to focus and to stare a lot into that small screen and read the words. The other thing I loved about the Canon is that it has a bottom tray container to load the paper. So I think with the Epson, maybe that's the reason of why the paper kept getting stuck as well, or maybe it was faulty there. But with this one, I love that I can just take out, load my paper, and then print. A big thing that I figure out when working with the Canon is that you actually have to lift this screen up when printing. I kept forgetting to lift it when I had to print again. So if you see this little warning sign, that maybe will be the case. I really thought I was like doing something wrong. I was checking codes and seeing if I was setting up the wrong paper, going online on reviews. Then someone simply said, just lift the screen, and that worked perfectly. And here I pretty much stare at the prints every time. I was so nervous to see the results because of the experience I had with the Epson. But once I saw the first print, I was shocked.
Oh!
Wow.
That's good!
Much better. Like they're the actual colors. One, because of how fast it was, but two, I was really happy to have the colors come out the way that I actually needed them to come out. And as you have guessed, this is the printer I chose for my store. So overall, those were the two printers that I tried, reviewed, unboxed, and gave you my honest opinion. I'm not an expert in printing. This is the first time that I'm going through all of this, but I definitely had pros and cons for both. But in the end, I kept the Canon because it was reliable with the colors that I needed.
Yeah. You happy?
And I really like it. So I hope this helped any of you looking for printers out there, if you're looking to open your own store, or if you just want to have this for your office home or even for a business. And if you guys have any other questions, leave them down in the comments below. I'll try to answer the best that I can. And that is it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.